I heard the first contraction at 4:47 in the morning. I know the exact time because I had been awake since 3, lying on my side in the dark, listening to the rain against the window, unable to sleep the way. I had been unable to sleep for the last 3 weeks of the pregnancy. My phone was on the nightstand. The room was quiet. Daniel was beside me, breathing steadily, completely asleep. I lay there for a moment and counted. Then I reached over and touched his shoulder. "Daniel," I said. "I think it's starting." He stirred, rolled toward me, opened his eyes part way. "Now?" he said. "Yes," I said, "now." He sat up, ran a hand through his hair, looked at his phone, said something under his breath about the timing. Then he got up and went to the bathroom, and I lay there listening to the rain and timing the next one. We had packed the bag 3 weeks ago. It was by the front door. I had checked it twice. I had written the list of what to bring, what to call, what to do if it happened at night or during the day, or in the middle of something else entirely. I had prepared for everything. What I had not prepared for was this. My name is Elena Voss. I am 32 years old. I have a degree in urban planning, a job I worked hard to get, and an apartment on the west side of the city that I bought 4 years ago with money I had saved for 6 years before that. The apartment is in my name. The mortgage is in my name. I chose it because the light in the morning comes through the east-facing windows and fills the kitchen, and I knew the first time I stood in it that it was mine. Daniel and I had been together for 4 years. Married for 2. He was an architect, talented and charming, and the kind of person who made large decisions, quickly and with confidence. That quality had attracted me to him in the beginning. Later, I understood that it also meant he made large decisions without consulting anyone else, including me. But I did not know that yet. Not fully. Not on the morning I went into labor. We left for the hospital at 5:30. The rain had not stopped. Daniel drove, and I sat in the passenger seat with the bag at my feet and timed the contractions on my phone and breathed through each one, the way the classes had taught me. He dropped me at the entrance. "I'll park and come straight in," he said. "Okay," I said. I went inside. A nurse met me at the desk and took me to a room and began the intake process. I answered the questions and changed into the gown and got onto the bed and looked at the door. Daniel did not come. 20 minutes passed. I called his phone. It rang 5 times and went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I told the nurse my husband was parking. She nodded and said he would find me. Another 30 minutes passed. A contraction came that was different from the others, deeper, longer. The nurse checked me and said things were progressing and asked again about my husband. "He's coming," I said. I called a 3rd time. This time he answered, "Elena." His voice was slightly distorted, like he was somewhere with noise in the background. "Where are you?" I said. "It has been almost an hour." I know. Listen, there was an issue with the parking structure. It was full. I had to find somewhere else. I'm on my way." "How far?" I said. "Not far," he said. 20 minutes, maybe." "Daniel, I'm in active labor." "I know, I'm coming. Just breathe." He hung up. I put the phone down on the blanket. I breathed. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Then 45. My mother-in-law called at 8:15. Her name is Renata. She had always been cordial with me in the careful way that people are cordial when they have reservations they have chosen not to voice. "Elena," she said. "How are you?" "Daniel said you went in this morning." "Yes," I said. "I have been here for almost 3 hours. Is he with you?" A pause. A pause that lasted exactly long enough to be its own answer. "He stopped by briefly," she said carefully. "There was a small family breakfast this morning. You know how his father gets about these things. It was already arranged. Daniel thought he had more time before—" "He is at a family breakfast," I said. She said nothing. "While I am in labor," I said. "Elena, it is just for a short while. He said he would leave as soon as—" I ended the call. I put the phone face down on the blanket beside me. The nurse came in to check on me, and I looked at the ceiling and I breathed, and I did not say anything for a long time. My colleague and closest friend was a woman named Simone. She worked 2 floors above me at the planning office and had been the first person I told about the pregnancy. She had offered back in the 7th month to be my backup if I ever needed someone at the hospital. She had said it casually, the way practical people offer practical things, without making it a declaration. I had said I would not need it. I called her at 8:40. She answered immediately. "I need you," I said. "I'm already getting my keys," she said. She arrived 40 minutes later. She came in without fuss, sat in the chair beside the bed, took my hand when I needed it and let go when I did not, and did not say a single word about Daniel. Daniel arrived at 11:23. Our daughter was born at 11:41. He walked in while I was still in the final stage of labor. He was carrying a coffee cup. He set it on the windowsill and came to the bedside and took my hand and said he was sorry. He was here now. Everything was fine. I looked at him once. Then I looked back at the ceiling and focused on what I needed to do. Our daughter arrived 17 minutes after he walked in. She was placed on my chest and I held her, and the room was very quiet, except for the sounds she made and the monitors in the rain, which had finally slowed to something softer outside the window. Daniel stood beside the bed and looked at her and said she was perfect. I did not answer. Simone left 2 hours later. She squeezed my hand at the door and said she would check on me tomorrow and left without ceremony, the way she had arrived. Daniel stayed. He held the baby. He took photographs. He sent them to his family. His phone kept buzzing with responses, and he kept checking it and smiling and showing me the messages as if we were sharing something. I watched him. I thought about the parking structure that was full, the 20 minutes that became 3 hours, the family breakfast that had already been arranged, the coffee cup he was carrying when he walked in. That evening, a woman came to my room from the hospital's administrative department. She had a folder and a lanyard and a careful professional expression. "Ms. Voss," she said, "I apologize for coming at this time. This is not urgent, but we did want to flag something with you directly. When we processed your admission paperwork this morning, your address was cross-referenced with a property transfer notification that came through our partner legal system. It flagged because your identification is listed as property owner, but the transfer documentation lists a different authorizing signature." I looked at her. "I don't understand," I said. "What transfer?" She opened the folder. "A transfer of lease and property management authority for your residential address," she said. "Filed at 8:40 this morning. The document lists a power of attorney authorizing a third party to act on your behalf in property matters. 8:40 this morning. I had been in active labor at 8:40 this morning. I did not sign any power of attorney," I said. She nodded slowly. "That is why it flagged. The signature on file does not match your signature on your original mortgage documentation. Our legal partner flagged the discrepancy automatically." "Who filed it?" I said. She looked at the folder. She read out a name. It was Renata's name. Daniel's mother. I lay very still in that hospital bed with my daughter asleep in the bassinet beside me, and I read the document the woman placed in front of me. A power of attorney, purportedly signed by me, authorizing Renata to act on my behalf in all property matters relating to my apartment. Filed at 8:40 in the morning while I was in this bed without my husband, in active labor, unreachable. The document had my name on it. The signature was not mine. I asked the woman to leave the folder with me. She did. I waited until Daniel left to get food from the cafeteria. Then I made 2 calls. The first was to the property lawyer who had handled my original apartment purchase 4 years ago. I explained what I had in front of me. She told me to photograph every page and send them to her immediately. She told me the document was almost certainly fraudulent and that a forged power of attorney in a property matter was a serious legal offense. "How serious?" I said. "Criminal serious," she said. The second call was to a family law attorney whose name Simone had given me 3 months ago when I had mentioned, quietly, that some things at home were not what they had seemed. I had taken the number and saved it and not used it. I used it now. She answered on the 3rd ring, and I explained the situation in full, and she listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "You own the apartment outright," she said. "Your name only, no joint ownership?" "Yes," I said. "Then the transfer has no legal standing regardless," she said. "A power of attorney requires a valid signature. Yours was forged. The property cannot be transferred. What this tells us is that someone attempted to access your property rights while you were incapacitated and believed to be unreachable." "While I was in labor," I said. "Yes," she said. "We will need to move quickly." Daniel came back from the cafeteria with a sandwich and a second coffee. He sat in the chair and ate and looked at his phone and looked at our daughter and made the sounds people make when they are performing contentment. I watched him. I thought about Renata's voice on the phone that morning. He stopped by briefly. It was already arranged. He thought he had more time. He had been at that breakfast when the document was filed. He had known. I said nothing that evening. The following morning, Simone came back as she had promised. She sat beside me and I showed her the folder and she read it carefully, and when she looked up, her expression had gone very still. "What are you going to do?" she said. "Everything," I said. The property fraud investigation opened within 48 hours. My lawyer filed the complaint. The signature analysis took 11 days. The result confirmed what we already knew. The signature on the power of attorney did not match mine. The document had been prepared using a template. My identification details obtained from somewhere and submitted through a third-party filing service. The third-party filing service had a client account. The account was registered to Renata. Daniel was served divorce papers on the 4th day after I was discharged. His lawyer called mine the same afternoon. My lawyer said he seemed surprised. I was not surprised that he was surprised. He had spent 4 years watching me prepare, organize, and manage everything around him. He had mistaken thoroughness for compliance. He had mistaken quiet for unawareness. He had watched me build something and assumed that because I had not said anything, I had not noticed anything. People who are not paying attention often make that mistake about people who are. The divorce took 8 months. The apartment remained mine throughout. The fraudulent power of attorney was declared void within the first 2 weeks. Renata faced a separate legal process for the forgery. Daniel's lawyers argued he had no knowledge of his mother's actions. My lawyers presented phone records showing 4 calls between Daniel and Renata between the hours of 7 and 9 on the morning I gave birth. The calls had been made while he was at the family breakfast, while I was in that hospital room without him. His lawyers went quiet after that. The settlement was signed on a Thursday afternoon. I drove home afterward. I parked in the space that had always been mine. I walked up to the apartment. I unlocked the door and went inside and stood in the kitchen, and the morning light was coming through the east-facing windows the way it always had, the way it had the first time I stood in this apartment and knew it was mine. My daughter was in her bouncer on the kitchen floor. The woman who watched her during the day was just leaving. I thanked her and she left, and I picked my daughter up and stood in the light. She looked at me the way very young children look at people they trust completely. I thought about 8:40 in the morning, about a signature that was not mine, about a family breakfast that had already been arranged, about a parking structure that was full, about everything I had not said while I was watching. My daughter made a small sound and reached for my face, and I let her. Outside, the light was changing, the way it does in the late afternoon, going golden and long across the floor. I had things to do, dinner to make, a work file to review after she was asleep, a message to return. I set her down gently and moved to the kitchen and began